My name is Lanobo Richard Kidaga, and welcome to this program. In this program, we look at the facts, experience, observations, and come up with the truth. The topic for today's discussion is the accident that paralyzed Africa at independence. When the colonial government was set up, the European leaders replaced African leaders, and this meant that Africans never got any skills. For example, in hospitals, the doctors were all white men, then assisted by Indians. The highest position for an African in a hospital was a medical assistant, or what others call the clinical officer. So at independence, the white doctors had to leave. And then the black medical assistants were promoted to doctor without the necessary training of a doctor. Now, I have no problem about this absolutely, because there was a vacuum and it had to be filled, and it was filled out of patriotism. However, the problem comes because you lack the necessary training, one will be ineffective and inefficient in delivering the service or managing the office. This happened in many sectors, but there's one other sector that I want to look at in a slightly more detail. That is the education sector. The highest institution of learning, of course, is Makerere University in Uganda here. Before independence, Makerere University was Makerere University College. Now, a university college is managed by a duplicate doctor. A university is managed by a professor. Now, who is a duplicate doctor? A duplicate doctor is a doctor who uses the book of a professor to teach his students, not his own. That's why we call him a duplicate. He's using somebody else's book. Now, who is a professor? A professor is an original doctor, meaning he came up with his own ideas. And two, he uses those ideas to help people and as well make money out of those ideas. So, when I say during the colonial government, Makerere University was not a university, it was the Makerere University College, which meant that it was managed by a white man who was a doctor, but a duplicate doctor of some professor, maybe in Oxford or Cambridge. So, at independence, Makerere University College became Makerere University. And then the duplicate doctor, the white duplicate doctor, who was heading the university college, left. Now, the African lecturers became the professors. And they became the professors without the necessary training to become the professors. Now, I have no quarrel with this. There was a vacuum and it had to be filled. And it was done out of patriotism. But the problem still remains because there was a knowledge gap. I have nothing against anybody, but we are just looking at the facts here, where we got trapped and got problems. Of course, this is hard to talk about because when one is in that position, you don't want to admit because you're occupying a good seat and you are eating. But the truth remains, you become inefficient and ineffective in delivering and management in that office. So these are some of the challenges that we faced, and it has paralyzed us because when you cannot deliver effectively, the people around you and the country suffers. Well, let's look at the so-called those who went overseas for further studies. Now, when you go overseas for further studies, you are treated as a foreign student. And when you're a foreigner, you don't get the same services like the nationals or the citizens. The menu served is different. So I just wanted to bring to our attention some of the problems we inherited at independence. And I am not very sure that they were corrected So when we see a lot of problems around us, it is not from nowhere. At independence, when the white man left, and we assumed most of the offices without the necessary training, there was a knowledge gap, and therefore things could not be handled efficiently and effectively. So that was the problem. We're very excited with the independence, but the officers were assumed without the necessary training. So that is something to think about. It's not too late to correct it, because you cannot give what you don't have. Thank you. Wait for the next discussion.